أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
शुरू अल्लाह के नाम से जो बड़ा मेहरबान निहायत रहम वाला है।
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
طاسيم
Ta, Sin, Mim.
تلك آيات الكتاب المبين
तासीम मीम, ये किताब रोशन की आयतें हैं।
These are verses of the clear book.
نتلو عليك من نبأ موسى وفرعون بالحق لقوم يؤمنون
ऐ मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम, हम तुम्हें मूसा और फिरौन के कुछ हालात मोमिन लोगों के सुनाने के लिए सही सही सुनाते हैं।
We recite to you from the news of Moses and Pharaoh in truth for a people who believe.
إن فرعون علا في الأرض وجعل أهلها شيعا يستضعف طائفة منهم يذبح أبناءهم ويستحيي نساءهم إنه كان من المفسدين
कि फिरौन ने मुल्क में सर उठा रखा था और वहां के बाशिंदों को गिरोह गिरोह बना रखा था। उनमें से एक गिरोह को यहाँ तक कमजोर कर दिया था कि उनके बेटों को ज़िबाह कर डालता और उनकी लड़कियों को जिंदा रहने देता। बेशक वो मुफसिदों में था।
Indeed, Pharaoh exalted himself in the land and made its people into factions, oppressing a sector among them, slaughtering their newborn sons and keeping their females alive. Indeed, he was of the corruptors.
ونريد أن نمن على الذين استضعفوا في الأرض ونجعلهم أئمة ونجعلهم الوارثين
और हम चाहते थे कि जो लोग मुल्क में कमजोर कर दिए गए हैं उन पर एहसान करें और उनको पेशवा बनाएं और उन्हें मुल्क का वारिस करें।
And we wanted to confer favor upon those who were oppressed in the land and make them leaders and make them inheritors.
ونمكن لهم في الأرض ونري فرعون وهامان وجنودهما منهم ما كانوا يحذرون
और मुल्क में उनको कुदरत दें और फिरौन और हामान और उनके लश्कर को वो चीजें दिखा दें जिससे वो डरते थे।
And establish them in the land and show Pharaoh and his minister Haman and their soldiers through them that which they had feared.
وأوحينا إلى أم موسى أن أرضعيه فإذا خفت عليه فألقيه في اليم ولا تخافي ولا تحزني إنا رادوه إليك وجاعلوه من المرسلين
और हमने मूसा की माँ की तरफ वही भेजी कि उसको दूध पिलाओ। जब तुमको उसके बारे में कुछ खौफ पैदा हो तो उसे दरिया में डाल देना और ना तो खौफ करना और न रंज करना। हम उसको तुम्हारे पास वापस पहुंचा देंगे और फिर उसे पैगंबर बना देंगे।
And we inspired to the mother of Moses, suckle him, but when you fear for him, cast him into the river and do not fear and do not grieve. Indeed, we will return him to you and will make him one of the messengers.
فالتقطه آل فرعون ليكون لهم عدوا وحزنا إن فرعون وهامان وجنودهما كانوا خاطئين.
तो फिरौन के लोगों ने उसको उठा लिया, इसलिए कि नतीजा ये होना था कि वो उनका दुश्मन और उनके लिए मूजिब गम हो. बेशक फिरौन और हामान और उनके लश्कर चूक गए.
And the family of Pharaoh picked him up out of the river so that he would become to them an enemy and a cause of grief. Indeed, Pharaoh and Haman and their soldiers were deliberate sinners.
وقالت امرأة فرعون قرة عين لي ولك لا تقتلوه عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وهم لا يشعرون.
और फिरौन की बीवी ने कहा कि ये मेरी और तुम्हारी दोनों की आंखों की ठंडक है, इसको कत्ल न करना, शायद ये हमें फायदा पहुंचाए या हम इसे बेटा बना लें. और वो अंजाम से बेखबर थे.
And the wife of Pharaoh said, "He will be a comfort of the eye for me and for you. Do not kill him. Perhaps he may benefit us, or we may adopt him as a son." And they perceived not.
وأصبح فؤاد أم موسى فارغا إن كادت لتبدي به لولا أن ربطنا على قلبها لتكون من المؤمنين.
और मूसा की माँ का दिल बेकरार हो गया. अगर हम उनके दिल को मजबूत न कर देते तो करीब था कि वो उस गुस्से को जाहिर कर दें. गरज ये थी कि वो मोमिनों में रहें.
And the heart of Moses' mother became empty of all else. She was about to disclose the matter concerning him had we not bound fast her heart that she would be of the believers.
وقالت لأخته قصيه فبصرت به عن جنب وهم لا يشعرون.
और उसकी बहन से कहा कि उसके पीछे पीछे चली जा, तो वो उसे दूर से देखती रही और उन लोगों को कुछ खबर न थी.
And she said to his sister, "Follow him." So she watched him from a distance while they perceived not.
وحرمنا عليه المراضع من قبل فقالت هل أدلكم على أهل بيت يكفلونه لكم وهم له ناصحون.
और हमने पहले ही से उस पर दाइयों के दूध हराम कर दिए थे. तो मूसा की बहन ने कहा कि मैं तुम्हें ऐसे घर वाले बताऊं कि तुम्हारे लिए इस बच्चे को पालें और इसकी खैर खाही से परवरिश करें.
And we had prevented from him all wet nurses before. So she said, "Shall I direct you to a household that will be responsible for him for you, while they are to him for his upbringing sincere?"
فرددناه إلى أمه كي تقر عينها ولا تحزن ولتعلم أن وعد الله حق ولكن أكثرهم لا يعلمون.
तो हमने इस तरीक से उनको उनकी माँ के पास वापस पहुँचा दिया ताकि उनकी आंखें ठंडी हों और वो गम न खाएं और मालूम करें कि अल्लाह का वादा सच्चा है, लेकिन ये अक्सर नहीं जानते.
So we restored him to his mother that she might be content and not grieve, and that she would know that the promise of Allah is true. But most of the people do not know.
ولما بلغ أشده واستوى آتيناه حكما وعلما وكذلك نجزي المحسنين.
और जब मूसा जवानी को पहुंचे और फिर पूरा जवान हो गए तो हमने उनको हिकमत और इल्म इनायत किया और हम नेकुकारों को ऐसा ही बदला दिया करते हैं.
And when he attained his full strength and was mentally mature, we bestowed upon him judgment and knowledge, and thus do we reward the doers of good.
ودخل المدينة على حين غفلة من أهلها فوجد فيها رجلين يقتتلان هذا من شيعته وهذا من عدوه فاستغاثه الذي من شيعته على الذي من عدوه فوكزه موسى فقضى عليه قال هذا من عمل الشيطان إنه عدو مضل مبين.
और वो ऐसे वक्त शहर में दाखिल हुए कि वहां के बाशिंदे बेखबर हो रहे थे, तो देखा कि वहां दो शख्स लड़ रहे थे, एक तो मूसा की कौम का है और दूसरा उनके दुश्मनों में से. तो जो शख्स उनकी कौम में से था उसने दूसरे शख्स के मुकाबले में जो मूसा के दुश्मनों में से था मदद तलब की, तो उन्होंने उसको मुक्का मारा और उसका काम तमाम कर दिया. कहने लगे कि ये काम तो इग़वाए शैतान से हुआ, बेशक वो इंसान का दुश्मन और सरीह बहकाने वाला है.
And he entered the city at a time of inattention by its people, and found therein two men fighting, one from his faction and one from among his enemies. And the one from his faction called for help to him against the one from his enemy. So Moses struck him and unintentionally killed him. Moses said, "This is from the work of Satan. Indeed, he is a manifest, misleading enemy."
قال رب إني ظلمت نفسي فاغفر لي فغفر له إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
बोले कि ऐ परवरदिगार, मैंने अपने आप पर जुल्म किया, तू मुझे बख्श दे. तो अल्लाह ने उनको बख्श दिया, बेशक वो बख्शने वाला मेहरबान है.
He said, "My Lord, indeed I have wronged myself, so forgive me." And he forgave him. Indeed, he is the forgiving, the merciful.
قال رب بما أنعمت علي فلن أكون ظهيرا للمجرمين.
कहने लगे कि ऐ परवरदिगार, तूने जो मुझ पर मेहरबानी फरमाई है, मैं आइंदा कभी गुनाहगार का मददगार न बनूं.
He said, "My Lord, for the favor you bestowed upon me, I will never be an assistant to the criminals."
فأصبح في المدينة خائفا يترقب فإذا الذي استنصره بالأمس يستصرخه قال له موسى إنك لغوي مبين.
अल-गरज सुबह के वक्त शहर में डरते डरते दाखिल हुए कि देखें क्या होता है, तो नागहां वही शख्स जिसने कल उनसे मदद मांगी थी फिर उनको पुकार रहा है. मूसा ने उससे कहा कि तू तो सरीह गुमराही में है.
And he became inside the city fearful and anticipating exposure, when suddenly the one who sought his help the previous day cried out to him once again. Moses said to him, "Indeed, you are an evident, persistent deviator."
فلما أن أراد أن يبطش بالذي هو عدو لهما قال يا موسى أتريد أن تقتلني كما قتلت نفسا بالأمس إن تريد إلا أن تكون جبارا في الأرض وما تريد أن تكون من المصلحين.
जब मूसा ने इरादा किया कि उस शख्स को जो उन दोनों का दुश्मन था पकड़ लें, तो वो यानी मूसा की कौम का आदमी बोल उठा कि जिस तरह तुमने कल एक शख्स को मार डाला था उसी तरह चाहते हो कि मुझे भी मार डालो. तुम तो यही चाहते हो कि मुल्क में जुल्म और सितम करते फिरो और ये नहीं चाहते कि नेकुकारों में हो.
And when he wanted to strike the one who was an enemy to both of them, he said, "O Moses, Do you intend to kill me as you killed someone yesterday? You only want to be a tyrant in the land and do not want to be of the amenders.
وجاء رجل من أقصى المدينة يسعى قال يا موسى إن الملأ يأتمرون بك ليقتلوك فاخرج إني لك من الناصحين.
और एक शख्स शहर की परली तरफ से दौड़ता हुआ आया और बोला कि मूसा शहर के रईस तुम्हारे बारे में सलाहें करते हैं कि तुमको मार डालें, सो तुम यहाँ से निकल जाओ, मैं तुम्हारा खैर खा हूँ.
And a man came from the farthest end of the city, running. He said, O Moses, indeed the eminent ones are conferring over you, intending to kill you, so leave the city. Indeed, I am to you of the sincere advisers.
فخرج منها خائفا يترقب قال رب نجني من القوم الظالمين.
मूसा वहां से डरते डरते निकल खड़े हुए कि देखें क्या होता है, और दुआ करने लगे कि ऐ परवरदिगार मुझे जालिम लोगों से निजात दे.
So he left it, fearful and anticipating apprehension. He said, My Lord, save me from the wrongdoing people.
This surah contains quite detailed narrative about the life story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wassalam. We have read it in detail in Surah Taha. 5 sections of that surah, they were, occupied by the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wassalam. Here again, Surah Al-Qasas, it is giving some additional details. Some of the things are repeated and there are other things which are additional. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Tasimeen. Tilka ayatul kitabil mubin. These are the ayat of the clear book, manifest book. Natlu alayka min nabai Musa wa Fir'aun. We are going to recite to you the story of Musa and Fir'aun, bil haqq, with truth. Everything that we say is 100% correct. Liqawmi yu'minun, for those people who believe. Inna Fir'auna ala fil ard. Verily, Fir'aun had exalted himself in the land. وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَعًا. And he had made the people, divided them into sects and groups. يَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ. He was slaughtering their sons, يَسْتَضْعِفُ, abasing and oppressing some of them. يُذَبِّحُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ, slaughtering their sons. وَيَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ, and keeping alive their women. إِنَّهُ كَانَ مِنَ الْمُفْسِدِينَ. No doubt, surely, he was of the corrupters and the mischief mongers. This was the command of Fir'aun at that time, that every male child born to any Israeli woman must be killed. Now, what was the reason? There's no mention in Quran, there's no mention in Torah even. But there are some stories in Talmud. And our Mufassirin have also borrowed them from Talmud. That is, that the Fir'aun, he saw a dream that a child is born to an Israeli woman who will overthrow his kingdom. So, on the basis of this vision and dream, he gave the order. Whosoever Israeli woman bears a male child, kill him. But the second reason can be, as I told you, it was a nationalist strife. Because Bani Israel were very prosperous. When they had entered Egypt, the kings at that time, the king was not a pharaoh. He was not a son of the soil. He was not an Egyptian. They were from the Amalekah. And actually they were Arabs. So they were, so to say, foreign occupiers of Egypt. And they needed some section of the population to support them against any local nationalistic uprising. So he gave the best land to Bani Israel. Joshua, near the delta of Nile, the best lands he gave to the Israelites. You go settle here. And they were very prosperous. And they multiplied in great number. But after some years, then there was a revolt, local revolt, an uprising. The local peoples drove out the Amalekah. They had to run away. And now this was a nationalist resurgence in Egypt. Again, now the dynasty of Pharaoh started. And now these people who were pampered during the former king and in their regimes, now they were persecuted. They were thought to be the agents of those enemies of Egypt. But because they were increasing in number, they were fearing that they might sometime challenge us in our land. And we have read, that Pharaoh said, these are two magicians who want to drive you out of your land. So he was saying it, that actually it's a political, scheme. And they want to deprive us of this land of ours, Egypt, and to occupy it. And there are a great number of Israelis are there. And now he has come equipped with these, magic things. So that is the fear. So maybe any one of these two things can be true. Inna Fir'auna ala fil ard, verily Fir'aun exalted himself in the earth, in the land. Waja'ala ala shi'an, and made its people, divided them into sects and groups. Yastad'ifu ta'ifatan minhum. One of the groups he was oppressing. Yuzabbihu abna'ahum, to the extent that he was killing their sons, male sons, by yastahyi nisa'ahum, and keeping alive their female daughters, their female progeny. Innahu kana min al-mufsidin, definitely he was from among the corrupters and the mischief mongers. Wa nuridu an namunna ala allazina istud'afu. And we had decided that we shall bestow our favor on those who were oppressed in the land. So now we wanted to come to help of Bani Israel, to relieve them, to get the release for them. Nuridu an namunna ala allazina istud'afu fil ard wa naj'alahum a'immatan, and we make them the leaders, wa naj'alahum al-warisin, and make them the inheritors of the rule in this land. But numakkina lahum fil ard, and that we should establish them in the land. Wa nuriya Fir'auna wa Hamana wa junudahuma, and show to Fir'aun and Haman and their hosts and their armies, minhum ma kanu yahzarun, what they were dreading or fearing. I have given you the detail of this dreading and fearing of what? Either the domination of Bani Israel in Egypt due to their numbers, and now Moses by their side, Musa alayhi salatu wasalam also with them. Or as the stories are and the traditions are, that he had seen a dream, that a child is born to Bani Israel who overthrows his kingdom. But we decided to show him that this is going to happen. You might have killed thousands of the sons of Bani Israel, but still, one was saved. Who had to overthrow your kingdom, he was saved. Because Allah Ta'ala does what He wants. Now this we have read in Surah Taha. And we sent the revelation to the mother of Musa, alayhi salatu wasalam, an arzi'ihi, go on suckling him. فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ, then when you have a fear that he might be found out, when the people, searching the homes are coming, فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ, then you cast him into the Nile, into the river. وَلَا تَخَافِي, don't fear. وَلَا تَحْزَنِي, and don't grieve. إِنَّا رَادُّوهُ إِلَيْكِ, we promise we shall return him to you. وَجَعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and we will make him from among our messengers. Now this is the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming to a woman. But she was not prophet. Allah can send wahi and ilham to other people also. Even we have read, Aha rabbuka ila nahl. Allah sent the wahi to the honey bee. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts in some animals as instincts, it's also a wahi to them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this message to the mother of Musa. فَالْتَقَطَهُ آلُ فِرْعَوْنَ. So the people of Fir'aun picked him up from the river. لَيَكُونَ لَهُمْ عَدُوًّا وَحَزَنًا. So that he might become for them enemy and the reason of grief. إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ وَهَامَانَ وَجُنُودَهُمَا. Verily, not only Fir'aun and Haman, but all of their armies, كَانُوا خَاطِئِينَ. They committed a mistake. They were evildoers and now they committed this mistake because they did not kill Musa. Why didn't they kill? وَقَالَتْ إِمْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ. Now the wife of Fir'aun came in the way. They had to recognize that this is an Israeli child. But now wife who was beloved of Fir'aun, she came in between. قَالَتْ إِمْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ قُرَّةٌ لِي وَلِي قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي وَلَكَ. Oh Fir'aun, this child will be a coolness to my eyes and yours. And we have read already, أَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي. Allah has put on Musa alayhi salam, a reflection of his own love. Whosoever saw him started loving him. So both these things. Firstly, the appearance of Musa alayhi salatu was salam, a very beautiful, very lovely child. Secondly, this wife. Torah says she was daughter of Fir'aun, but Quran says no, she was the wife of Fir'aun. And she has been mentioned in Surah Al-Tahrim as one of the most exemplary women, because although she was living in the house of Fir'aun, an enemy of Allah, but she was herself a saint, a waliullah, waliyah lillah. And she was from among the Israelites. She was an Israeli woman. Just as kings, they marry. Some woman might have been very beautiful, and he liked her and brought her in the palace. قالت امرأة فرعون قرة عين لي ولك لا تقتلوه. Don't kill him. عسى أن ينفعنا. Maybe he proves to be beneficial for us. أو نتخذه ولدا. Or we shall adopt him as a son, because they had no son till that time. After some time, there was a son, and that was the Fir'aun when Hazrat Musa comes back from Madian. Now he was the Fir'aun. But till this time, the father was in charge. أَوْ نَتَّخِذَهُ وَلَدًا وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. And they didn't know what they are doing. They were actually their enemy, Musa, who will overthrow their kingdom. But they are decided not to kill him. وَأَصْبَحَ فُؤَادُ أُمِّ مُوسَى فَارِغًا. And in the meantime, the heart of Musa's mother became empty. Her courage gave way. The love and affection for the son, so she couldn't bear anymore. In قَادَتْ لِتُبْدِي بِهِ. She was very close to disclose everything. She was close that she would have exploded, that this was my son and I have done this, and I have, cast him into the Nile, and go and see, and please take it back. لَوْلَا أَنْ رَبَطْنَا عَلَىٰ قَلْبِهَا. Had we not strengthened her heart, we strengthened her heart so that she could bear. لِتَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So that she becomes from among the believers. وَقَالَتْ لِأُخْتِهِ. And she said to his sister of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Ussihe, go and follow. That basket or whatever you may call, which was carrying Musa alayhi salam, the Nile. Go along with the coast of the river sea. वो sea है, go along with it. فَبَصُرَتْ بِهِ عَنْ جُنُبٍ. So she kept an eye on that basket or whatever it was, a box, عَنْ جُنُبٍ, from afar, a distance. وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. They didn't know that someone is watching this child. وَحَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَرَاضِعَ مِنْ قَبْلِ. And we had prevented him beforehand to drink the milk of all the foster mothers. So many women were called, said that she should suckle him. But he didn't accept. He won't touch the mammary gland of the mother, of that foster mother. So all were tried. But Moses ﷺ accepted none. So now there was an emergency. How will he live? He is not ready to accept the milk of any woman. So then she said, the sister, وَحَرَّمْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَرَاضِعَ مِنْ قَبْلِ فَقَالَتْ هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَىٰ أَهْلِ بَيْتٍ يَكْفُلُونَهُ. Should I guide you to a family who will be able to take care of him? وَهُمْ لَهُ نَاصِحُونَ. And they are for him, they will look after him and they are sincere to him. فَرَدَدْنَاهُ إِلَىٰ أُمِّهِ. In this way, we returned him to his mother, كَيْ تَقَرَّ عَيْنُهَا, so that her eyes should remain cool. وَلَا تَحْزَنْ, and she should not be grieved. وَلِتَعْلَمَ, and so that she should come to know and believe أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ, that the promise of Allah is true. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, but most of them know not. They don't have the true knowledge. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. We had read the first section of Surah Al-Qasas last night, and now we are beginning with the second section. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَاسْتَوَىٰ آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَكَذَٰلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ. وَدَخَلَ الْمَدِينَةَ عَلَىٰ حِينِ غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا رَجُلَيْنِ يَقْتَتِلَانِ هَٰذَا مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ وَهَٰذَا مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ فَاسْتَغَاثَهُ الَّذِي مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ عَلَى الَّذِي مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ فَوَكَزَهُ مُوسَىٰ فَقَضَىٰ عَلَيْهِ قال هذا من عمل الشيطان إنه عدو مضل مبين. صدق الله العظيم. Some of the very important events of the early childhood and infancy period of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam have been repeated in Quran thrice. We read them in Surah Al-Shu'ara, in Surah Taha, and lastly we read them in the first section of Surah Al-Qasas. But now this period, which is beginning now, it is mentioned only in Surah Al-Qasas. وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ, when he reached his maturity, وَاسْتَوَىٰ, and became firm, آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا, we granted him the true judgment and knowledge. وَكَذَٰلِكَ نَجْزِي الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and in this way we reward those who do good deeds. وَدَخَلَ الْمَدِينَةَ عَلَىٰ حِينِ غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا, and he entered the city at a time when the people, the inhabitants, were not vigilant. Time might have been early morning or during the noon, when the people, they are resting in their homes. فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا رَجُلَيْنِ يَقْتَتِلَانِ. Now he entered the city. Why? Because, he was living in the palace. And palaces are outside the cities. So from his palace, he came to the city. And when entered there, فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا رَجُلَيْنِ يَقْتَتِلَانِ, he found two persons fighting with each other. هَذَا مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ, this was from his people, that is Bani Israel. وَهَذَا مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ, and the other one from his enemy, the Coptics, the Egyptian. فَاسْتَغَاثَهُ الَّذِي مِنْ شِيَّتِهِ. So the person who was from his own people, Bani Israel, he asked for help. عَلَى الَّذِي مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ, against whom? Against that one who was from his enemy. فَوَقَذَهُ Musa. So Musa struck him with his fist. فَقَضَى عَلَيْهِ, and finished him. قَالَ هَذَا مِنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. Actually he didn't intend to kill him, but one strike with fist, that was sufficient for him to finish him. So he said, هَذَا مِنْ عَمَلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. This is from Satan's doing. إِنَّهُ عَدُوٌّ مُضِلٌّ مُبِينٌ. Surely he is an enemy, misleader, manifestly. قَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي. And then he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "Oh my Lord, I have wronged myself. فَاغْفِرْ لِي. So please forgive me." فَغَفَرَ لَهُ. So Allah forgave him. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. Surely he is the forgiver and the merciful. قَالَ رَبِّ بِمَا أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ. Now he promised, he made a covenant with Allah, as you have blessed me, فَلَنْ أَكُونَ ظَهِيرًا لِلْمُجْرِمِينَ. In future I will never support any guilty person. فَأَصْبَحَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ خَائِفًا. And in the morning next day, he was in the city fearful and vigilant. He was fearful maybe that the news that an Egyptian was killed by Moses might have reached the authorities, and they might be thinking about arresting him and doing something against him. So he was fearful. فَأَصْبَحَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ خَائِفًا يَتَرَقَّبُ, and vigilant, seeing if something is coming from this side or that side. فَإِذَا الَّذِي اسْتَنْصَرَهُ بِالْأَمْسِ يَسْتَصْرِخُهُ. Suddenly he found that the same person who wanted his help the previous day, he is again crying for his help. قَالَ لَهُ مُوسَى إِنَّكَ لَغَوِيٌّ مُبِينٌ. On that Musa said, "You are surely one misled. You were fighting yesterday with one person. I helped you and he was killed. Now you have taken a quarrel with another person. So you seem to be a wrong person." فَلَمَّا أَنْ أَرَادَ. But because he was from Bani Israel, and the other person with whom he was fighting even today, he was from the other party. فَلَمَّا أَنْ أَرَادَ يَبْتِشَ بِالَّذِي هُوَ عَدُوٌّ لَهُمَا. When he intended to seize the person who was the enemy to both, he said, that person to whom he had helped, he said, "Ya Musa turidu an taqtulani." He thought that because he had reproached him, now he is going to reprimand him, and he will take him to the task, and maybe he strikes him. So in that fear he said, "Ya Musa turidu an taqtulani kama qatalta nafsan bil ams." "Oh Musa, do you want to kill me just as you killed a person previous day? In turidu illa an takuna jabbaran." Surely what you intend is to become a very tyrant, big tyrant in the land. Fil ard. وَمَا تُرِيدُ أَن تَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُصْلِحِينَ. And you don't intend to be from among the reconcilers. وَجَاءَ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ يَسْعَىٰ. And at the same time, a person came running from the farthest end of the city. قَالَ يَا Musa. He said, "O Musa, إِنَّ الْمَلَأَ يَعْتَمِرُونَ بِكَ." The chiefs are counseling together in your case. لِيَقْتُلُوكَ. And the resolution is that now you should be killed. فَخْرُجْ إِنِّي لَكَ مِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. So you run away from here. I am a very sincere advisor for you. If you want to save your life, now you run away from here. فَخَرَجَ مِنْهَا خَائِفًا. So Musa left Egypt, fearful. يَتَرَقَّبُ. And he was vigilant, looking to right and left and behind. Maybe he is being followed, somebody is coming after him. So in this way, he just left Egypt. قَالَ رَبِّ نَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "My Lord, deliver me from the evil doing people.